Hello guys, I'm the Movie Cuban, and once again I'm before you because I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for the past week. And it's frankly, this will be somewhat rantish, so if you're not interested in just hearing me complain, then by all means you can exit the video now. But I want to talk today about the overwhelming presence on YouTube of the trailer for the upcoming movie Keanu. Now, I'm going to just state off the bat that I'm not super familiar with Key and Peele as comedians. I've occasionally come across episodes of their show, and there have been random skits that they've done that I've found, somewhat amusing or just downright funny. But there's there's a definitive difference between being funny in little skits and being able to be funny throughout the duration of like an hour and a half movie. And frankly, from what I've seen in the different trailers for this movie, they are not managing the conversion to film well. Now, people like Dave Chappelle and Jim Carrey in the past, who started from like stand up and who moved on to do films, these were people who were like definitively charismatic and comedic. They could take the situations and whatever that they were experiencing and they could make them funny to witness. But at the end of the day, Key and Peele are presenting to us a glorified missing pet picture. And I don't know about you guys, but when I want to go watch a Hollywood movie, I want to watch something that's either super realistic for life, something like Grown Ups, where it can be funny, but it can also feel really tethered to like reality. I want to see something like Jurassic World, in which the line between fantasy and reality has been blurred to the point where it's like, oh, maybe that's possible, maybe it's not. Something that can get your heart like beating in your chest and you can get genuinely involved with the events that are going on. But again, at the end of the day, Key and Peele are marketing to us a movie in which they go on a search for a kidnapped kitten. And while I can certainly understand pet ownership, I've owned pets before that were very dear to me. Having somebody make a movie about finding a lost pet, which by itself there's nothing wrong with. Homeward Bound is a movie that I still absolutely love. And at the end of the day, that was basically a Search for Lost Pets movie. But the difference with that was the pets themselves were the ones truly searching for the way to go home. And they were each designated as their own character. They were each made to the point that you could relate to these animals. You could understand their motivation and why they wanted to get home so badly. And here in Key and Peele's Keanu movie, that motivation isn't blatantly obvious. I don't fully see the need for them to go out of their way to get some new kitten other than that they love Keanu. And frankly, the kitten in the trailer looks quite young, so they couldn't have had that much time to become attached to this kitten. So frankly, why not go get a new kitten? Like it feels kind of heartless to say, but I feel there's a definitive difference between people who've had a pet for a really long time as opposed to somebody who could have only had a pet for what had to have been a very short duration. There's no way that he's had Keanu, the kitten, longer than maybe a couple months. Even if it is the runt of the litter, it would have gotten bigger as it aged just a tad. So I I'm not a fan. Maybe it doesn't help that I was rewatching the Smosh playlist and that Keanu was basically the commercial of choice throughout the entire viewing. But I just, even from what I saw in the commercials, there's no witty banter in this movie. Wit is about as far away from this movie as humanly possible. And what's left is a film in which the jokes aren't funny, the actors are trying way too hard or way too little, and the premise itself is just so mind-bogglingly stupid that I can't bring myself to have any interest in going to see the movie. Like, I have nothing against Key and Peele's comedians. I know that with me being a comedian, or at least a self-proclaimed comedian, and with me having watched so many really good comedians over the years, Dave Chappelle, Jim Carrey, I could argue like Carlos Mencia, um, the Blue Collar Comedy Tour guys, like there are genuinely funny people, and then there are people who try to be funny but don't do as well. And I'm afraid Key and Peele do fall into the latter category. The best analogy I can use for them is like a pitching machine that has been like that has malfunctioned, shall we say. So that the pitching machine, rather than spewing forth a continuous like stream of balls, or in this case we'll call the balls jokes. So rather than machine gun firing the jokes, they'll say a joke, and the pressure in the launcher will either make it so that it's a great joke and it'll fly like full force, or it'll be a really bad joke and the pressure will be so little that the ball will just like dribble out of the pitching machine. And in my history with Key and Peele's comedy, the instances in which they actually launch their joke have been very few and far between. So honestly, guys, I've never told people before not to go see a movie. I've never been the kind of person who would tell someone not to bother with a newly released film. But in this case, guys, I do honestly feel that Keanu is a film that you can bypass. I don't foresee any saving grace in this movie that would make me change my mind. It is just an unfunny, subpar comedy that Hollywood has released to us because they currently have no better ideas on what to do. And I would rather my intelligence not be insulted and your intelligence not be insulted by degrading ourselves enough to go see it. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm the Movie Cuban. Have a happy Saturday, and I'll see you next time.